Hey everybody, my name is Jared Malott, and this is the Coltist. This is episode 9. We're calling it the Niner.
The Niner, yeah.
Mateo, how you doing, man?
Hey, Jerry, how are you? Can Fine down here, just mad about Sunday.
Oh, right.
Not recovered about that yet, just not. That is one that will hurt for a very long time.
Yeah. I mean, if it actually is the second time in the same season, right? The overtime letdown.
Yeah, against the Ravens.
Yeah. I
Now this
mean,
one too.
I think in a lot of seasons, I hate to be that way. It feels like a down year because we're 3-5, and you're also not winning your close games. Which again, record not winning close games kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah,
So we're kind of throwing around a nothing burger, but the reality is the Colts are very much a middling football team with a few outstanding players, and ultimately are going to succumb to pretty much what looks like ego in the play
yeah.
calling and some of the unnecessary risk taking out of Carson Wentz. I'd kind of joked that the quarterback and head coach for the Colts are a little too churchy for me. A little more football, a little less Jesus. Um,
Yeah.
and I feel
Too
like,
much good guy.
yeah, and I think, I hate to kind of squeeze the jab in there. But anything bordering on Tim Tebow, yeah, I think is
Hmm.
gonna ultimately distract from your quality of play.
Yeah,
And I always point to things like your appeal when it comes to things like brands. And you notice how Carson Wentz isn't really on TV. Like, so again,
yeah, he has a quiet profile. Yeah, he does not appear that much like in anything.
yeah, it's because I you can kind of guess where my head is on the sorts of depths and
Yeah, I
and
know where
and
this is
and
going. Yeah,
lay and layers Carson Wentz is probably as likely to put a chaw in and talk to you about the specific like rifle bore he has on his 410, right?
yeah, his
Uh
crossbow, like how many boar he hunted
yeah.
this summer.
Where they flew to them in a helicopter, pinned them down, and then shot them while they were scared. Yeah. So when you watch the Colts play and you see like the peaks and valleys, um, we've been very lucky that Carson Wentz has, by and large, played very good football. He really has
Yeah,
played very
yeah,
good football. He has made, I would say, less than about 10, maybe 15 total poor decisions. A lot of them the
yeah, yeah. I
flips,
agree with it.
um,
Yeah, the flips or
throwing into
the
traffic.
interception in overtime was the first one where I think that he forced it.
Yeah.
I hadn't been watching too many of those, so that was a surprise for me because he had been really good at like going to his check down, going through his
Mhm.
reads, hitting the open man.
Yep.
So yeah, that forced throw into triple coverage. I don't know why was that. It's not like it was like third and long where you say, okay, like yeah, it's understandable. It was first down. He had
Yeah.
Taylor White. That's the play that like really hurts. Because it was
Yeah.
the most important time of the season. It was the deciding moment of the season because you win that. Derrick Henry now out for the year. With that foot injury.
Right.
Titans are not going anywhere. They're probably not winning
Right.
more than half their games. So you win that game, you have a decent shot at winning the division,
Right.
at least. Now, just yeah, I don't see it.
I mean, I think Tennessee's gonna still win some football games. I agree with you
Yeah,
though that they're just flat less likely. And I'd posted on social media, hey, in another universe, Derrick Henry doesn't get hurt. They go to the Super Bowl. I don't know that they win it.
yeah.
I don't think the Super Bowl winner comes out of the AFC this year.
No,
So
yeah,
a
I
lot of
agree with you on that
a
one.
lot
But yeah, they
yeah, a lot of people had hit me up and said like, you think the Colts are done? Do you think the AFC's got the actual ammo to do it? And I don't.
no,
Um,
I don't see it happening either. Yeah,
and I don't think Sunday obviously went a long way to show you uh, the sorts of weaknesses the Colts do have that are ultimately going to keep you from winning big games, and that is
Yeah,
uh, obviously hitting the open man, right, is sort of on the quarterback, right? And I think
yeah,
when you open up with things like we're gonna live and die by these two men's ego playing out in real time, it capitulates when the guy tries to force it, throws the game sealing interception, right? So I'm kind of using words to describe what we saw on the field, and I think it's probably, I hate to say this, I think that Jonathan Taylor is a better football player than Carson Wentz, and I think it's getting to
yeah.
Carson
Nah,
Wentz
yeah, of course, yeah.
that
That's
that
something that I believe it's
he's
obvious.
not really the alpha here, and I hate, I love hate, because when you watch it, when Carson Wentz hands the ball off, it's like he doesn't want to do that, because Jonathan Taylor is just going to carry it into the end zone. He looks like he's shot out of a friggin' cannon, right? And
Yeah,
again,
yeah. He's by far, he looks like next to Pittman, the two most explosive players in offense, and the ones that are really carrying the load.
yeah, and I think there's some desire to want to carry, sort of be the hard carry, right?
Yeah,
I play video games too, right? Like I understand the idea of being the quarterback and
yeah.
feeling like you
Wanting
have
the
to carry,
spotlight.
you have to carry your offense, right? But I think he's fortunate enough with the sort of health that he has around him, that again, like I said, if I had a running back like Jonathan Taylor and a wide receiver like Pittman, and I was just a good enough
An
athlete, dude,
offensive line
I'd
like the
never
Colts.
lose. I'd never lose a football game. And with the Colts lost because they didn't do anything in the third quarter, and in addition to not doing anything in the third quarter,
And in overtime.
Jonathan Taylor had 0 carries in the third quarter. So
Yeah,
I'm kind of saying with words what we're seeing play out in real time, and hopefully
yeah,
it is an aberration, right? Like I kind of been poking at T.Y. Hilton, that the ghost is the most appropriate nickname for him ever, right? The way he sorts of disappears and reappears. um
yeah. At least over the last couple of seasons, yeah, he has been like sort of, because he
so
was mostly durable, in his
yeah,
first few years in the league. But
yeah.
now it's just like it sucks for him because he was perhaps like the best receiver in the past decade this team has.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, it sucks. It has to end this way.
Hmm. Yep.
My
He has a
fondest
knack for
memory
getting
as
open.
yeah, my fondest memory as a Colts fan is the comeback against the Chiefs in the playoff where he like
Yeah.
got I believe like two touchdowns, and I thought the game was lost. I mean, down 38-10, and then we came back. That is my happiest memory as a Colts fan, and it's mainly due to him.
Yeah.
So he has a special place in my heart, because I didn't get to watch either like Reggie Wayne in his prime or Marvin Harrison in his prime. So T.Y.
Yeah.
Hilton is that guy for me. But yeah, right now I mean, 31 is old for a receiver,
Yeah.
mostly with the build like Hilton does. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think that.
he's closer to a recently unemployed Deshaun Watson than he is to a,
Yeah,
you know what I mean, than to a Naheem Hines, who I still kind of have to pound the table for. I find one of the things frustrating here, that I'm kind of, I think the Colts will win tomorrow. So before we even get to that
yeah,
conversation, I don't want to base how I feel right now on tomorrow's result, right? So I'm glad we're having this
yeah,
conversation right now, because here's what I'm frustrated at. One, my primary concern with my offense is where's Naheem Hines, right? And why the misappropriation of touches for Jonathan Taylor. So it's a twofold problem at running back. Not enough Naheem Hines, not consistent enough use of Jonathan Taylor. These things concern me, and to a great degree, because we're injured at wide receiver, and rather
yeah.
than like,
Two of your main three guys are out, so like
yeah, so
Chris Campbell's out, Tua Higgins out.
instead of putting weight on Doolin and putting weight on
Yeah,
Pascal, I think you can rely on Michael Pittman, pretty
Jonathan
consistently.
Taylor,
Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, and then
Mo
what?
and Cox, even
What's
Jack Doyle has been playing
well?
well.
I feel like the tight ends as a pair are like really good, but I feel like Carson Wentz has been forcing it into Mo Alley Cox to try to like. It's almost like he's trying to force them to be friends. You know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah,
really trying to
yeah,
make that connection with the big guy because if he gets his paws on the ball, he's going to be pretty hard to take down. But he's also going to get you some yards, right? Because he's
yeah,
such a big
yeah. I'm
fella.
worried about, mostly worried about his knees, because
Yeah,
almost every defender knows, like, yeah, this guy is 6'6", massive.
yeah,
Go
yeah.
above the waist on him, you're not getting him down. So you have to go to the knees. No other way.
But yeah, I think when you've got running backs that I'm not sure what's going on with their like sort of usage and free, it's more of a frequency thing, right? So like it's not so much the end where you look at the end and you're like, oh, he had 15 touches for 65 yards. Jared, he had averaged over 4 yards a carry. Like that's a pretty good afternoon, right? But we lost in overtime. He didn't touch the ball in the third quarter, and they didn't really
Yeah, and in
go to him at
the
all
and
in
in the fourth
overtime,
quarter, he got just
right?
like
Uh,
fourth quarter and overtime, he got just like 4 carries
yeah,
compared to 17 pass attempts for Wentz when
yeah,
it was a one-score game. So like,
yeah.
what's your excuse for that? What?
Well,
Like,
you definitely shouldn't be uh straight passing in a one score football game.
no,
And I
and
think that short I think it made the game longer. I think the Colts could have won that game by a possession. Like they could have won going away and
yeah,
instead they lost in overtime. It's about pacing and it's one of the things about football that has always bothered me is the pacing of the game where I get it. There's like TV timeouts, and there's a lot of things baked into the game that are sort of interrupting it. But it feels like there's certain teams in the NFL that understand how to pace a football game
yeah.
out. And I don't feel like the Colts
No, the Colts are not one of those teams.
control
Yeah,
the clock. They're not effectively controlling the clock. So especially in that third quarter, it went by so fast. Um, and and when we really look back on this season, you'll see that there are just whole quarters where I feel like the coaching staff didn't have anything to contribute to the goings on, right? And I
yeah,
think a lot of times your leadership gets caught up in sort of the play to play. They forget to, you can't just get your coverage
yeah.
and
To look like
alignment
at
right.
the bigger picture.
Yeah, you have to kind of have your foot on gas pedal and brake and sort of being able to
Yeah,
zoom in and zoom out. Um, I I kind of liken it to wanting to be the hawk instead of the like
the dove.
the no is it the instead of the chicken you want to be the
Yeah,
hawk far away watching everything picking and choosing its battles rather than being sort of the chicken down on the ground pecking at the ground fight trying to
yeah.
kill and eat
Constantly
everything.
reacting to what
Hmm.
your opponent is trying to do. You want to
Yeah,
be
no,
the one that forces your opponent into a reaction instead of the other way around.
yeah, and I think the Colts, based on what I'm seeing with the rest of the league, the Colts have just enough weapons that you can just spread the ball around, keep everyone healthy. But there are guys that like if these guys touch the ball, there's a higher success rate potential here. And then if you can
Yeah,
sprinkle in a few key players, right? Like we kind of talked about, like Mo Alley Cox, and then every now and then you got to give the rock to Doolin, right? Every now and then you got to hit Pascal because the
yeah,
guys actually made some reliable catches too. But I'm
yeah.
just
And
saying,
Pascal
like
was really good early in the season, getting those touchdowns. The first, I
yeah.
believe, like 3 weeks, he had three
Mhm.
touchdowns.
And it's
Now
like
the
you need that too. You need him to catch his two or three balls, but then you don't need him to have two catches on seven targets. And you didn't give the ball to Naheem Hines, right? Like it's almost like again,
yeah,
it feels like some. I hate to say it like that, but it's like there's a power struggle in that like now you have Jonathan Taylor emerging as like a bell cow, and they just paid Naheem Hines, who has basically
six
just
million dollars a year. Yeah,
he's like the $6 million man that like is kind of getting chill right now. You know what I mean? And hopefully
I you,
they're
you know
holding him
like
back,
I
right?
I actually like I thought about that. I thought the same like with Heinz. I was like, what's the deal with him? So I want to look up like his touches compared
Yeah,
to last season at the same point.
yeah,
Like last season he had 62 touches. Yeah, I have the number here. Last season at week 8, he had 62 touches. This year he has 55. So that's not like I
Hmm.
thought the number was going to be much lower. So that's not actually as low as I would have thought.
Has he just not been as effective with his touches?
Yeah, I believe that's good. And especially I remember like the 49ers gameplay where he
Mhm.
had like touchdown, what I believe was a touchdown down the sideline.
Yeah.
And he dropped it. He had the fumble against the Dolphins in special teams. So yeah, he also has not been playing that well, like
Yeah. I feel like every time he runs on the field, they try to immediately give him the ball. There's some patterns that I start to pick up when I watch. We'd been talking about when Carson
yeah,
Wentz does the double swipe, and how he was checking to a run, and then I'd seen him run RPO off it, and they've run straight up play action off it too. So it means different things at different times, and I imagine there's
yeah,
a word being shouted as well. But I feel like I was talking with a guy at work, and he called my bluff. He said he didn't think I knew what I was talking about, but I actually think that uh, I don't know how. I'll find out one day and I'll tell everyone. But the way I figure you call offense at the NFL level is that you call a fork. I believe that's the way I'd call it, where you have, ideally we run this play, but here are the two things, and
yeah. You
it's
have two other
in the way
checkdowns.
you call it, right? Like, so you're telling him, X post, Y flat, or whatever, right? And so you're telling him 1, 2, 3 on a particular route. And then you would also consider that like 3 different plays. This is what it looks like. This is where the ball goes. All these guys are doing the same thing on this route. You're just going to throw and I was trying to explain to him, some quarterbacks can run your whole offense and they don't actually need anyone. And then those players are very rare. Peyton Manning. Some players,
Yeah,
you literally have to tell them where to put the ball at. And so you can
they're
call
Alex
a
Smith
play.
guys.
Well, for example, I'm trying to remember someone that I've heard, that I know for a fact was this way, but I heard that Cam Newton, um they would call play in, the huddle breaks, Cam's got his hand to the ear and they're saying like, you're throwing a 3-step slant to your right, to the wide receiver. Oh, okay. And so he gets up there and he just knows he's throwing this slant, didn't even know what the play was, right? Because he's still learning the offense. Did that in the regular season.
Yeah,
Now, rumors, but I get it. You can dumb it all the way down to that. I tend to be on the other end of the spectrum. Study guy more like guys like Drew Brees, who I actually think are getting a series of plays delivered, probably broken down into like a full
different
alphabet
call.
category,
Yeah,
where this is the formation we're in, this is the motion that we're going to run, and then here's the action that's coming off that is, again, like formation, motion, action word is probably how that's being delivered to the huddle, especially because there's like communication going on. You want as few words out as possible and as much effect as possible. So anyway, I was
yeah,
having that conversation and saying what I think is also happening. So I believe there is a power struggle and there's a failure to sort of appropriate touches correctly, or continuously throughout of a course of a game. It's like they're ready for most things, and that's not. We have to be ready for all things, right, and prepared for all possible outcomes. Um, and it's kind of funny now that I think about it, where you're like, yeah, he's only 7 touches off his pace last year and he was super productive. And then that tells me, like,
yeah.
even more so, that the Colts are going to live and die on the fact that you have someone is oblivious on this offense somewhere as to, and it's because they go from like middling to good, right? Instead of like
Yeah,
good to bad,
yeah.
right?
It's like average, and then they suddenly look really good for a few drives
Yep.
before like returning back to the norm.
Yeah. And then you're kind of in that cycle of trying to do too much too early in the sequence, trying to do too much late and then not doing enough in the middle, right? So you kind of
Yeah.
see they try to throw it deep on first down, incomplete pass, on second
Draw on
down.
second down, get
Yep,
2 yards.
get 2 yards. Now it's 3rd and 8, and then they throw short of the sticks, and you're just like, I played football a long
Yeah.
time, and like they just never. And I get it. Oh, they're at the pro level, and it's like, no, man. We've been saying it for a while. It's like the same people keep getting these jobs at the NFL level, and the product is very visibly
Yeah.
watered down. We need more creative, not just play callers, but like play designers. I'd kind of honed in on that was that last week's podcast or after last
No, I
week's
believe it
game?
was like no, I believe it was like the one before that. I don't think it was the
The
last week then.
motion, where we
Yeah.
motion Nyheim Hines to the single receiver side with T.Y. Hilton as his lead blocker on 3rd and 4, and then threw a screen to Nyheim Hines.
Yeah.
And it was like,
No,
what?
no, that was not against the 49ers. That was probably not against the Texans either. Was it against the Ravens?
Yeah.
I believe it was against the
Is it-
Ravens, yeah.
And I get it again. It feels like, oh, Jared, they're doing that because they think the defense would never expect in a million years you would throw that ball. And I feel like that's all the more reason that you shouldn't throw that ball. You
Yeah,
shouldn't
that
throw
and
that.
what
Maybe
you're
that's
saying,
the
like,
action. Maybe that's the play action. But then I feel like we have that Pat McAfee running the fake punt situation
yeah.
again,
Think
where
about the screenplay to Mo Ali Cox in the end zone that resulted in the pick six. That Reich even said that you should never call that.
right.
So yeah, like it seems like they are trying to outsmart everyone when the obvious choice, is just run it towards the left side where you get Eric Fisher and Quentin Nelson, two really good run blockers. You have one of the best running backs in the entire NFL, just running to the left. Like 90% of the time, you're going to get like at least 4 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, why not like use that? But instead, like I believe that Frank is trying to, like make himself look like smarter than everyone, like going like, I know the obvious call is this one.
Yep.
But I want to show that I'm smart, and instead of doing that, I just call 3 consecutive pass plays when T.Y. Hilton is out, Paris Campbell is out, Michael Pittman was getting like triple covered late in the game.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's the result you're going to get.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the obvious call is obvious for a reason.
Right. You just should do this. Right.
There's a reason. That's the obvious.
When I coached, what we did was we wrote out tendency, and we talked about at length having a whole gamut of plays that you'd run on a given down and distance. And one of the things that we had to plan for was 1st and long, 2nd and long, right? So 1st and 10 plus, 2nd and 10 plus. And then watch play calling at the like pro level. It's almost exclusively it goes pretty much draw, screen, go deep is what you were basically seeing in those instances. And I get it. I'm spoiling football for a lot of people. But it's just like the play calling is that tired that these offenses will get a penalty and then not come out
It's just
and
either draw
try
play
to
or screen.
Yep, or not run the football. And I think the Colts are in danger of being a team that will end the season with the potential to have like a couple 1,000-yard rushers and can only end up with like one and possibly getting them injured. You know what I mean? Like they're misusing people just enough that, I mean, it's a difference between 5-3, 3-5, right? And not currently contending for your division. So yeah, so I guess sort of to put a bow on it, the sort of loss last week is a season defining loss where
for me it is,
when the Colts end up drafting in the top 13 again, hopefully they can get as lucky as the Pacers and get a Duarte like guy.
No, wait. No,
Oh, you're
you're
gonna giving
assuming
away
that you're
bench
assuming that they
Carson
are
Wentz.
benching Wentz, and
Yes.
I don't see that happen. I
No,
don't believe that
again,
will happen
there's far too much ego in play here. I feel like, go ahead.
unless he injures himself.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. They're not gonna bench him.
yeah. No, well, I don't. I also think he's probably said in a like I said in so many words, he's probably said, I'm not sitting unless I'm dead. You know, he seems like that one of those kind of players where
Yeah, and I have to say I respect that. You know, for
sure,
my quarterback, I
yeah,
respect that. I want a guy like that.
yeah, you got to have him wanting to be the guy. I just also happen to be a guy that's I sillily is that a word? I believe
Stupidly,
uh Sam Ellinger can play. So
nah, that's you're
and
too
what
optimistic. You know,
I
like
know, I know.
you're probably among. Nah, I'm not gonna say you love Thiessen because you hate quarterbacks that can move.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure about. We never saw him play like single meaningful
If you
snap, and now you're already saying,
if you watch, he played very inspired football in college, and I get it. A lot of guys are gonna say, you know, the Big 12 is kind of, and Texas was kind of when he was there, and we didn't get to see a lot of him. But what I think matters now is what sort of position can you get yourself in once you escape the pocket? And he has enough mobility that you can fix him. He already has the primary skill
yeah,
other quarterbacks lack, and that is escapability. And so I think
yeah, athleticism,
you can get him to square his shoulder, to get a little rotation in his hips, right? You can make him into a monster by getting him into a spot to use an arm
yeah,
that he works to make more efficient. Because when you do watch him, he's accurate with the football and he throws a good timing ball, but he wasn't throwing with a lot of velocity. And again,
yeah. So it
it's
gets
sort of this
intercepted. That happened. Yeah,
he's saving himself. Again, I keep kind of poking fun at the like uber religious, but that's kind of a thing about it is them being a little pensive, a little held back. And I really feel like if you really look at like touchdowns thrown being middling in the league, and like even though you're not turning
yeah,
the ball over, it's like I wonder what his pace looks like through 8 games compared to Jacoby Brissett in his year as
yeah.
starter.
Probably much better. Yeah,
Uh, well, I mean, no, I wonder where was I'm trying to think where was or were they 4-3, 5? Were they?
5-2 with Jacoby before the bye when he got injured.
Yeah,
Is that what you're talking about? Like when we
I
beat
was trying to
the
think
Chiefs?
what his touchdown to interception ratio was during that time frame, right?
Wait, let me. Yeah, let me. You know,
It would be interesting to find that out, right? Like,
let me look that up for you real quick. I believe, like, if I had to take a guess, I believe it was something like 8-1, perhaps. You know, let me check.
but yeah,
Game logs.
in looking forward to tomorrow, the obviously Colts get the Jets on Thursday Night Football. Jets coming off a surprising win against the
Yeah,
Bengals. When the Jets literally pull a guy off the street. If I remember correctly, he was something.
yeah,
I think
Mike
he had
White.
like 38 completions or something like that. Just an absurd yardage. Very going to be very hard to duplicate. He's gonna have a bumpy ride. They're not all gonna be exciting wins and high scoring barn burner type games. It kind of goes without saying I expect the Colts to take care of business, but then again, I really kind of feel like I might be saying that after they've lost that capability. You know what I mean? Like I hate to feel like they're gonna continue to stub their own toe, right?
Yeah.
But until it's
Yeah,
like
I agree with it.
until I see otherwise, we're in the weeds as you
In the
see
weights as
as you
as
see
your
my
background is
background.
saying. So yeah. Wait,
Yeah.
let me interrupt you. Like Brissett had 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Those first 5 games of the season of the 19 season.
Okay.
And he even got 11 total touchdowns because he had a rushing touchdown against the Chiefs.
Oh, so you're saying 11 and so through.
Yeah, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
So like I said, you're paying, and I imagine the Colts are paying Carson Wentz like 5 times what they were paying. No, I guess they gave
probably
Jacoby a
something like
raise,
that.
right? So
it was like 25 million, something like that. 15 mil.
yeah, I would say it was like 15. So it's still like
Yeah,
60% of
30
what they're
mil.
paying Carson Wentz for similar output. I'm not backtracking on what I'd originally said was Carson Wentz has the profile of a quarterback in the same sort of vein as Andrew Luck. And a lot of people don't like hearing that. And on the larger part, he's played really good. He's almost played hero ball football. And it's gotten to the point, at least in the I get it. The more we talk about it at length, it's like maybe we're just a playoff here and there. Losses are tangential, right? Like so like the things that happen in the off season impact overtime outcomes. One of them being I don't think the Colts had a good offensive attack ready for that second overtime game. On the whole, you don't have high expectations of playing in an overtime game. It should happen relatively infrequently. And I hate to feel like overtime caught a team off guard, right? Like you weren't planning for a tight contest, knowing that most NFL games, the average point spread's 3. So most of the time it's a close game. So you should be anticipating that. That's why I'm a fan of get your points, right? And I feel like when you leave points on the field and you value giving them poor field position, we want a better shot at scoring a touchdown later, right? It's like take your points, play better defense after you allow a return instead of just punting the ball away or throwing the ball away and giving them decent field position. Because I feel like the Colts have also, in addition to like misused player, miscalculated risk, and then also they get into spots in games where their calculated risks are at bad times, right? Like they took a calculated risk in an instance where we didn't really have the time for that. But I felt like, for example, I heard somebody say in the game against the Rams, they open the game, the Colts drive down, 3-run, go for it on 4th down to get sacked. Remember that?
Donald Stuff's
Guy,
2 runs, and then
coworker of mine hit me up and he said, if you're the head coach of the Colts, do you kick the field goal on 4th down? And I said, yeah. So you take
first drive of the game, you take the points. You start a game like what they did against the Seahawks. Against the Seahawks was a very similar scenario. Wasn't on the 1-yard line, but they got like first and goal instead of the 5. 3 downs. You get the points. First drive of the game, start off with a lead, get the points, and then you see.
Yeah, and he told me you'd get run out of the league there, right? I disagree because I think whenever you start a game ahead, the probability of victory is an order of magnitude higher. And obviously, as opposed to getting the ball from the first time in a tie game or getting the ball first period, starting the game off down points, I want to say you're like real bad to lose. Like you're probably losing 3/4 of the games that you start down points. Like by the first time you touch the ball, you're down 3 or more points, probably losing that game. Because you not only have to equalize, you have to go down and score before they score, so that now, hey, we're back to zeros. Because this is how binary some people are, players are. Where if you get too far behind, there's no coming back.
Yeah.
The problem I think that the Colts have, in addition to not quite utilizing talent very well, for again for 4 quarters into overtimes if you have to be there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like we're gonna nitpick this season to death because we aren't getting like max return on our investment right away. And I feel like that. I
No.
feel like we've kind of poked around at the idea of like nobody's gonna lose their jobs over this. Like they're gonna continue to put this product out. They're gonna beat bad football teams like they're gonna play tomorrow. They're gonna get themselves in tight
Yeah.
contests with good organizations and lose to um, better decision makers, more committed organizations, like committed
Yeah.
to their stars. For example, like look at the workload that AJ Brown got, and that's and I get it. Michael Pittman had a big game, and that again,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like, um, it's one thing to do what you want to do on offense, and then it's another to just not keep the opposing offense from doing what they want to do too, right? Like
Yeah. The
as
Colts
much as
really
it
can do that. Yeah.
as much as it's on the Colts to create offense, it's on the Colts to stop the opponent from very obviously third and long, several junctures of the
Yeah.
game, going at AJ Brown and getting the completion and at a high clip, almost at will. That feels like something that has to change. And again, tomorrow, not really having to think about a whole bunch of highly talented skill players. The Jets aren't particularly deep. That's been
Yeah.
sort of the
Yeah.
problem in New York for a long time, has been no
Yeah. What
real
do they have?
great
They
skill
just
players.
have like Michael Carter, Corey Davis. I don't know if he's healthy or not. Jamison Crowder. Yeah, he's solid, but not that
Yep.
great. So yeah, not the like they are not Cooper Cup, DK Metcalf. Derrick Henry. No, no stars. No, those guys like Michael Carter probably like wouldn't even be like the fourth. He would be like the fourth string running back here. Well, Corey Davis in this receiver room, he would be great. Jamison Crowder also, but because we are without Paris Campbell or T.O. Hilton.
Right.
So yeah, what I have been seeing is that the Colts like really struggle to cover the other teams like number one option.
Yeah.
Like Cooper Cup had like over 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett burned us. Lamar Jackson did whatever he wanted with us.
Right.
Now AJ Brown, because of Derrick Henry's injury, I believe they didn't go that much to him. But when Henry was healthy, like in the week 3 matchup, he killed us. He
Yeah.
torched us. So the Colts, like when the opposing offense has like a guy that can handle the load of like the main guy in the offense, they rarely ever can stop them. And they
Yeah.
do particularly good against offenses that perhaps don't rely on one player.
Yeah.
Like for example, the Niners, the Texans offense, like or the Dolphins offense, they are not even worth talking about.
You're right.
Now we'll see it against the Jets, and that's the main reason that I believe like I'm calling my shot right now. The Colts will beat Tampa Bay. I'm calling it right now.
Hmm. I hate to like succumb to the message because I have complained at the sort of the Colts messaging. Um, it's such a week to week league. The Colts are so what I would call top heavy, where if certain guys aren't here, you can bank on an outcome. Um, I I want to say I feel like the Colts are becoming more whole and stabilizing, and then this is a peak game, and I don't think it's a valley game, right? I feel like last game was a sort of middling game,
Yeah,
so I think you'll get a peak sort of game out of Carson Wentz. I feel like um, he kind of owes you a complete game at this point, where or not a complete game, but a peak game, a sort of an elite assertion, if I may.
yeah,
I think that's what you're due. You get those sort of outings in matchups like this where the Colts are and I looked it up for the record, so it's not like I came in here with this in my brain. The Colts are like a 10.5 point favorite.
Yeah, they're 10.5 point favorites. Yeah.
I feel like they've probably got a couple touchdowns, maybe then some. However, would take the over. I would
The over
backdoor.
was like
Uh,
over under on points
yeah,
or
yeah,
the
on
spread
on the total.
was
I would definitely take.
46, I believe.
I would be. You could probably buy points, buy me back into taking the Jets to sneak in late and make that interesting.
Mm.
But on the whole, like more often than not, I expect the Colts, like I said, to get a sort of peak game out of everyone, a feel good win,
Yeah, feel good win.
just a week too late. And I feel like it's one of those bitter wins, right? Where
Yeah, or
you wish you would have capitulated the week prior.
yeah, or
You
you're
feel a
thinking
lot
like
better
this could
about
be
that.
just this could be just like so much better, going into like a long week of rest with probably the division within grasp and
Yeah,
a sort of easy part of the schedule coming up with the game against the Jaguars.
yeah,
Now it's like, yeah, it's as you said, it's bittersweet because they are probably gonna win this, but they're gonna be
yeah,
like, if we had just like finished the game against the Titans with a win, this would be just so much better.
yeah. And I mean, there's even leftovers from that Baltimore game I'll be thinking about for a while, right? Where I'm like, that's going to end up mattering in the end of the year when you really needed that. Probably, I want to say 11th or maybe or worse win. I think the Colts are in danger of needing to win north of 7 of the remaining 9
Yeah, yeah,
to go
yeah,
to the
yeah.
playoffs. And I think I don't think 10 I am not great at math. I'm good enough that I don't know that 10 it gets you in.
I
Um
believe that even 9 gets you in, because the Broncos, like, they basically like beat on the season. Then the Chiefs, I saw like Monday's night game. They are not playing real good football at all. They look like shit,
yeah,
and they have a really tough part of the schedule coming up.
yeah,
They got lucky they don't have to face Aaron Rodgers on Sunday,
yeah,
so that's a huge break for them. But they look
right.
like really bad. When the Giants make you look that bad, it's gonna get ugly.
Yeah, and I mean
And the
and that's
Broncos are not there.
and
The
I mean here
Bengals.
with the Bengals that I feel like what the what the Jets got out of White what is an anomaly type game, a peak type game.
Yeah, that's an
And
outlier. Yeah.
typically what follows a peak type game is a valley type game. And that's the kind of better I am where I'm like, look, there's a chance here for fireworks and that this is a barn burner and we end up in a 52-44 kind of football game. But there's and I'm giggling at that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
What's a lot more likely is like a 37-3.
Yeah.
Somebody throws 5 interceptions and gets benched in the second quarter, and the other guy has 5 touchdowns and doesn't play the fourth. Is sort of where I'm kind of giggling at the it's almost like the blind maestro, right? Like every now and then you're like, what? Like all right. And I think that's tomorrow, coming off short rest, disappointing loss. But and I hate to say that, didn't lose the farm, right? You still had like a major injury, right? But didn't lose the
Yeah.
farm
Yeah.
in terms of
That's
players. That's obviously going to keep, that's the way football is, right? There's attrition here too. So it's not just wins and losses. You're also losing players.
yeah, losing
Um,
players.
but hopefully I did see I don't know if you saw that. Did you see Deo Bull Rush? Uh it was
Yeah, I
it
said
was
like it
just
was
one
probably
play.
like the one snap where
Yeah, it was
he
one
he
play.
saw like 16 snaps, I believe, and that was the only one where I said, okay, this guy, just go easy on him. He's just coming back from that Achilles tear, first NFL game, but
Yeah. And obviously it kind of makes me sad, right? That we're already at the kind of point where wins are starting to get hollow because they're untimely. But I feel like that's a pretty logical way to sort of look at what's gonna end up driving the result there, right? Because I think a lot of people are gonna maybe look at that win-loss record at the end of the year and see that, hey, that's competitive. You know,
Yeah.
we're right there, and it's like, well, you were right there last year, and then you bet 25 mil on a guy, so you were kind of supposed to, uh,
Take the leap. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they're supposed to beat a Bills type team now.
Yeah.
Um,
I just believe that Chris Ballard like half-assed it, because he spent like the first round pick and he spent like 25 million on the guy. But other than that, what did he do? He
got him a running back that they ain't using. I don't know. I can't fit. I can't.
nah, he like that was the only major move the Colts did. They drafted it Quiddy Pay in the first, that the guy was supposed to be raw and not supposed to play that much.
Yeah,
The same with Deo. Chris Ballard himself said that we are not expecting big things from these guys in their rookie seasons. So
right.
that Carson Wentz was the only move the Colts made. So like, what
He
are you
was
trying to
he
tell us?
he was gonna. They were gonna let him come play hero ball and redeem himself, right? Which Jesus, oh my God, it's real so religious. All of that for like the last 15 seconds. Um, but like they were like, all right, we're gonna make this move, this grand gesture, right? And I feel like that's what we're gonna get sold on Hard Knocks is you got this guy in your locker room with the King James version, telling these old tales of old white haired men at sea, and ultimately I just think that we need to close that book, open the playbook. We need a more dynamic offense that's as threat dense as it is taking more scoring attempts, and trying to push other teams to do the same, because I think that's where the Colts are capable of taking over games, is putting opponents in must score situations.
Yeah.
The Colts have good takeaway potential, and when teams they're poised to have to score, that's good for us. So I feel like it what our offense is lacking and what they can do can fuel what we're already sort of doing. I did see the Colts were like second in the league in plus minus, and I want to say that there were five. They listed five teams, so it was like the top five teams in plus minus, and
Yeah. Yeah. I remember
The
that.
Colts were the Colts the only team under 500 on that
Now,
list.
yeah, not only like the only team under 500, but the other teams were like 6-2, 7-1, 6-2, 7-1, then 3-5, and you're like,
Coaching,
what's the deal here?
coaching,
Coaching,
that's coaching.
coaching, and also you have to, like, for example, the Ravens game. If Blankenship is healthy, that's a
Yeah,
win.
yeah,
Tyquan Lewis doesn't sleep and drop the ball after the fourth down. No, was it the third or fourth? Fourth down
yeah,
interception.
hmm
That's a win. That's probably a win.
yeah.
Those are two very unlucky plays
hmm
or situations that end up costing you the win. That
The question though now, did you see where Frank Reich doesn't know who if Blankenship's going to be the starter when he comes back healthy? Um, I guess you kind of got to go with the guy that until he misses for you. But I feel like
Yeah.
that's such a touch and go thing that the the sort of mental space that your kicker's in, I feel like plays into a lot of your outcomes. Um, and maybe that's had a hand in some decision making too, where the Colts are trying not to put their kicker in that early game situation. We got to get this field goal, get some points out of this drive. Again, I can't figure out why. Take your gimmies, right? I'll put 50 on you, or you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm trying to see these coaches do is put some points on the board, especially on a Thursday night, because I think the Colts could get trapped into becoming one of the lesser franchises. And I hate to kind of poke around at the idea, but like you don't want to get tossed around in the sea like the Jags, the Jets,
Yeah.
the sort of
The
holes
Lions.
the Browns have had to dig themselves out of, and Bengals, obviously too. You kind of don't want to get stuck in sort of the doldrums or of the dungeon of the
Yeah.
league, right? So the Colts really need to come out and handle business tomorrow too, to sort of retain some sort of respect, because there's
Yeah.
been some moments where you've seen the media sort of like turn its head at the Colts and be like, for just a brief moment.
Yeah.
um
Like, are you legit? What are you supposed to be? Like, what
I
are
think
you?
I think also they're also holding their breath, waiting for whatever comes out with Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
I'm obviously excited because um, it's our team.
Yeah.
But I'm also
Yeah. I don't know how excited I am
nervous.
about this
I
now.
was to say I'm nervous because I have in the back of my mind the sort of perception that I'm afraid we're gonna sort of put out, um, and I'm you know I'm hoping there's fun poked at what I'm expecting to see within the org, and that it sort of gets fleshed out on TV and they can get past some things, because I don't have insider information. I'm not, what is the dude's name that totally called Deo getting activated
For the
for
culture,
the culture?
it's
By the way,
Jason.
that
Shout
I
out
don't
to him. The
shout out
guy
to
is,
him. Like he's had some breaking news lately. And while we're on the
yeah.
shout out train, Chris Shepard just launched a new podcast and I caught it. It's actually really funny. Um the Good Shepherd just launched.
I'll
So
give that a listen tomorrow.
that's on Stampede Blue now. But yeah, there's this Colts podcaster. He doesn't need me. He's got a bigger following than I do. He totally called Deo getting released or getting activated for the
Activated,
game.
yeah.
And then like I said, I don't have any scoop. But I kind of when you hear former players talk, like Pat McAfee, Robert Mathis, like Freeney, like Reggie Wayne,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you sort
Those
of
are
get
the
a
most vocal guys
you get
here.
a perception of who they keep close to the franchise and who they keep at arm's length, and what kind of people those end up being. And obviously there are your guys that are standing out, right? Like Peyton Manning now, obviously, with this thing with Monday Night with his brother, I think is genius.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but he even said like he's acting like sort of like a Broncos fan, Just
mhm.
I just don't like it. He's saying he's a Broncos fan, like, come on, man, you're ours.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about um, Peyton Manning leaving the Colts is that the last thing that you want an organization that you've given your body to is to let you leave, and no longer want to invest in the sort of returns that you're capable of. And I'm not saying that he would have been worth it. And I don't think the Colts would have won a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. I think that the Broncos were young enough and had the defense to do that and then
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, it happened. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So I don't, again, I'm so pro player that that's on Jim Irsay. And I'm not also sitting here saying, oh, the Colts would have won that chip. No, and again, I
Probably
don't
not.
think
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have been great. But I think there's probably a bad taste in his mouth, and they'll always be not as close as they could be. Jim Irsay and Peyton Manning, although close, that when they talk about each other, it's always with a great deal of love,
Yeah, mutual respect. Yeah.
mutual respect. But ultimately, it is very painful to think about, like, the entire reason you let him go was because of your inability to
Andrew Luck.
protect him over time, right? And then ultimately you had a player
Yeah.
like
Once in a
Andrew
generation
Luck
prospect. Yeah, coming up. Yeah.
had to make a decision for the future of your organization, and then ultimately also failed to protect him, and he ended up retiring early,
Yeah.
which is
So
still the reason, which is part of the reason the Colts are in the position they're in now,
right
with
now, yeah.
a young head coach that is, in my in my opinion, still making the same sorts of mistakes he was making year one as a play caller.
Yeah, that's what worries me about him. He has not improved year to year, where you're like, okay, this guy is learning actively from his mistakes. He's just repeating the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's where I start to worry, where the guy you had like, what is it, like 4 seasons now?
Yeah.
Has not shown any signs of improvement. He's still tripping over the same stone. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm starting to get worried about him. And I'd say like Iberflus has also regressed a bit. I'm just not seeing like the same spice with this defense that was sort of there last season.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm worried about this. I'm certainly worried about this coaching staff.
I'm worried also that I feel like we don't, as fans, we don't give these staff any sort of breathing room when it comes to like injuries too. So I think about the sort of blandness the back end has shown, and then I think about how banged up they are at corner and safety, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
it's hard to be hard on a guy when you didn't expect him to play. He's primarily a special teamer now. He's like basically starting for you. There's
Yeah,
that.
George Odom, yeah.
Same thing with the Colts at wide receiver. And I guess, I mean, that's kind of a good place to sort of turn a corner here to kind of wrap us up. The Colts didn't also make a move at this trade deadline. I
Yeah.
think there was probably a wide receiver worth bringing in, or just trying to, again,
Yeah, I really like Devante Parker. I when I saw like the tweet from what was it, Mikey Salat, Mikey Lettuce, something like that, like
yeah,
they,
myself.
they put it on the chat, Mikey Salat. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a trustworthy name, but when I saw Devante
Yeah.
Parker is going to, I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
good stuff.
I would have loved
Yeah,
to see the Colts make a move there. It would have made me really
yeah,
think like they believe in Carson Wentz. They think it can win now. Otherwise, I'm afraid they're just going to keep rowing. And
Hmm.
when you just keep, I feel like I hate to say, like this would be like a fruitless season. I feel like you're going to come away believing Carson Wentz is your long-term starter,
Yeah,
and the hope is that Carson Wentz outgrows his coach and that he outplays what Frank Reich is going to sort of limit him, and he's going to develop a sort of like a higher offensive IQ, so that when he gets the tight end screen in his own fucking end zone, he's not throwing that ball, and he looks over and he goes like this, I can't hear you. And then he calls a play, and we're not running that because
yeah,
I've been in this spot before, and I'm not letting that dude lose this game for me. And I get it. Maybe I'm thinking too much. And that's
yeah,
probably why I'm sitting here on a podcast with you instead
yeah.
of,
Me too. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
we are both sitting here. Yeah,
I'm thinking about
there's a
like
reason.
how I've, now that I've seen it happen in real time. Guess what? I'm never running a screen out of my own end zone. And also, I have done that as a coach. We had a halfback screen that we ran effectively for touchdowns on tons of people. Probably, I think we had like 5 or 6 touchdowns over the course of the season on a halfback screen. And we had a 3rd and 17, and they brought 8 players, and they sniffed our screen out and scored. And then my coach is just, the head coach is like, I know you're like first year play caller, but like generally on like 3rd and long, backed up on your own like 19-yard line, you're not throwing a halfback screen, because they're expecting something like that. And it kind of bit the Colts similarly, and also it's such a more grand mistake, right? Like I made
Yeah,
my error in front of 8 people in Bardstown, Kentucky. We're
yeah.
talking
That was
about,
on the biggest game of the season. You're talking about
maybe
an
I should have
NFL team.
tweeted that at Frank Reich when I did it, like, hey, don't be this guy,
Yeah, learn from my mistakes.
yeah.
Smart people learn from other people's mistakes. So learn
the
from this.
the
Don't
the,
do this.
the Indiana Cutters out of Danville, Indiana. You know what I mean? Like, Yeah, I don't think he would have listened to that. I think he probably would have still called the screen out of his end zone. But
Yeah, and the result will be the same. Yeah.
yeah, it would probably have been a better ball. So I don't know. I feel like now I feel like we're it's full blown in jest, which I'm up for that, and I think that's where we are. Is it's worth poking fun at
Yeah,
the sort of goings on. um it's worth kind of acknowledging.
yeah,
We had
tragedy makes for good comedy. Yeah.
a great deal of potential that I feel has been squandered, and
Yeah.
um as a result, I feel like you said, where you're like, I guarantee they beat the Tampa Bay Bucks. um I bet you they beat the Cardinals, right? And I feel like those two victories will end up being hollow, and that's what's kind of like, oh dude, like, because we really needed to win
Nah.
that game
Yeah.
on Sunday. And so, like I said, even and again, it makes me feel like I'm now you're gonna get where, oh man, Jared, you're ungrateful. No man, like I feel like there's like a base of importance for everything in it, and I feel like the Colts had the tone and tenor correct in some of their like non-conference, non-division games. Weren't really trotting guys out there and playing them 100% of the snaps. Now, were you? You were really getting guys' bodies in the game and trying to play all your
Yeah.
pieces, keep everyone upright. Realize you don't have to have this one, right? Really feel like Seattle and Los Angeles; those were two instances where the
Yeah, those were
Colts,
two games like
that wasn't our best rotations. And I think you've seen it improve since, and so it gives me enough where I'm saying still, because tomorrow is a conference game, then you get like a higher output. It's a up game. You had a middling game last week.
yeah.
So yeah, I think all signs pointing towards a victory. And I guess if we're gonna drink the Kool-Aid the Colts are pouring, it's the 1-0 every week, get better
Yeah, I'm sick
every
and tired of
day.
that. Yeah.
Um,
Don't even say
or
that.
you
I'm
could
just
or you could just be a winner.
yeah. Wanna know that seems like so like football Disney movie where they're like,
Yeah.
I know we are 0-9, but still like wanna know every week, let's get him. And it's like,
Yeah.
nah man, just not
Like
buying it anymore.
that's what I mean, you've heard me on any content I've made where I've complained that I think the Colts have like a dicked up message. I feel like some in uh there is messaging, coaches put in the locker room, like Ted Lasso has the believe sign, right? Play
Yeah.
like a champion today, Notre Dame. And I feel like the Colts have don't play if you don't want to taped in their
Yeah.
up in their locker room. And I feel like I'm not boomering this, right? So I'm not also sitting here saying like the Colts are soft. Like, no, I feel like they're misguided weapons, right? Like you have all this firepower, all this capability, it's being sort of squandered. You're sub 500. This is the result of
Yeah.
as we've pretty hammered pretty hard, like middling to subpar coaching. And it just kind of burns you when like the major article out of the Colts in the last like 48 hours is like, as soon as the game ended on, Frank Reich raced back to his office to get on
Yeah.
film. And it's like, so when did you realize you sucked? Like, did you like was it when you sat down to do the interview and everybody was like this, like, really? Like, that's when you realize, like, oh shit, that was my fault. Like, you didn't feel that in game, man. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah. Yeah.
the sort of thing for me where I'll always kind of wonder, yeah, especially if they end up not making it. If a guy like
Yeah, which
Frank Reich
probably will be.
ends up getting fired or something, you always
Nah,
wonder.
I don't think that will happen. I just don't see that happening.
You don't think so? You think
Nah, I don't think they fire him.
he's permacult?
Nah, like I believe that this season, no, like if the next season we are still making the same mistakes, playing like we have been playing, I believe then he gets fired. But not this year. I believe he has like this year he won't get fired. Not unless like we finish on a like say a 2-6 for a final records, some stuff like that where everything goes to shit. But if we continue like this, they're playing gonna say like, oh, we got injuries, we had to go through a new quarterback. That's never easy and blah. Now
Well, I
I
mean,
don't think that.
they need to win, right? Because winning drives down the value of the pick that they traded away, right? So like
Yeah, they
it,
can't
on
afford to tank.
it's like they can't afford to lose because then that pick is too good, and then ultimately as a result of losing, that means that Carson Wentz probably isn't playing that well, or he's been injured, or he's not playing at all, and so it's sort of the snowball effect. Um, and I've for so long I've been saying like quarterbacks don't own win-loss records. Um, I think Carson Wentz owns that loss, but I think he's also going to go out and absolutely shred tomorrow, and it's just going to be
Yeah.
one of those sort of suck it games, right? Where like suck it nerd, like he's just a well above average athlete, um, and also heady, and I feel like heady and above average athlete, if you could just get him off his high horse and humble him, he could deliver. And you could have, I'd love to see 4 or 5 guys with 4 more catches, you know what I mean, and really spread the ball
Yeah.
around. I'd really love to see, obviously, you want to see somebody have a breakout game, but again, I just like to see him spread the ball around, keep everybody healthy, right? Like not throw his guys injured. I feel like that's kind of something,
Mm. Yeah, it
that hit,
happened,
that
the
hit on
word.
that ball on Pascal, I felt like he let go
Yeah,
late.
Pascal, the one on TY also was like sort of like his fault. There was one against Yuling on 3rd and 16, I believe it was. That was
Yeah.
also like a foot higher.
And I think that's bad mechanics. With my quarterback, I sat down with Sydney and I said, what deep ball do you want? And he said he wanted the fade. And I said, fine, and when we worked it, one of the things we worked on was uh, decreasing the shift in your shoulders between a normal ball and the deep ball. And what you see when you watch Carson Wentz, and that's part of the reason that the ball's underthrown. So while everybody's all sitting here talking about, hey, he doesn't have the arm. No, it's like bad mechanics talk. So what he's really doing is when he's lets go of the football, he's dipping. And so he's going like this and he's letting this ball go and it's got this like moonshot
Yeah,
trajectory and it's losing distance. And what's happening is when he lets that shit rip in practice when there's no pass rush, it's gas money. It's like 65 yards in the air, and he's making you look like a fool. But when he gets into a game and he doesn't fully step into that throw and
yeah,
he tilts his shoulders too far and loses all the sorts of velocity he could throw that ball with, then you're just looking at just an underthrown fade. And fortunately and unfortunately, so the first problem is they're getting people to bite on it. It's yielding them a positive result. So I don't know about y'all, but that 100% means it's going to keep happening.
yeah,
And then in addition to that, I think teams are just going to turn around and pick you now. And
yeah. Now that they know that you are constantly underthrowing guys,
yeah,
and
especially if you're getting any semblance of pressure on Carson Wentz and forcing him to like step up and oh shit, he's going to huck it, dude, just turn around and catch it. And again, I don't think that happens this week, right? So I think the Colts get. I think we as fans get a little. Is it respite? We get just a little bit of. You got to breathe a little bit tomorrow
yeah,
on a
be
short week.
happy for once.
Get that moment in the sun, uh, where the pundits are talking about you being like a top 15 team in the league again.
Yeah,
I saw in Good Morning Football. I think they were 19th this morning, and I turned it off and was just like, I don't need to. That's not helping me.
nah, yeah,
I don't want to see that.
yeah, not a good way to start off the day. Yeah,
But yeah, if I enjoy listening to you, where can I hear more of your thoughts? So I know you write for Stampede Blue. Do
nah,
you
yes.
you sort of document your football thoughts anywhere else?
No, I only write on Stampede View, yeah, nowhere else. But I have like a All right, I'm currently writing like 7 articles a week for Summit Blue. You know, some of them are like, like the fantasy waiver wire and the AFC South roundup, where
Sure.
it's mostly like information.
Sure.
But my favorite two pieces are the where I document like Reich's best and worst decisions.
Mm-hmm.
That's also the one that gets the most comments because people are quick to throw shit at Reich. And and also the one that I really like is the what I call like the Monday morning awards. That's those two are my favorite ones.
We're making this sort of similar stuff because when I make that post game rap video that I try to get up right after the game, I'm
Yeah,
telling the fans, effectively who played well, who played like shit, what kind of happened around the AFC South as it kind of affects our trajectory. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, so you're on Twitter it's Mateo Caliz, right?
yeah. It's Mateo Galis. Yeah,
Caliz.
but yeah, you don't need to follow me either because I
Don't
mostly
need
tweet
to
in
follow.
Spanish and I mostly tweet about like dumb shit that just like comes up to my mind.
Okay.
Like
So
I mostly use it
don't follow him for his football
yeah,
wisdom.
don't follow. Yeah,
Just
just if you if
read his
you
work on Stampede Blue about
if you
football.
know if you know how to speak Spanish and you like stupid dumb humor, then
Yeah.
definitely follow me. You'll enjoy the content. But I'm no Zach Hicks or Blystone or Shepard. The guys that mostly tweet about the Colts.
Yeah.
I just tweet about dumb shit that comes to my mind.
I think I'm somewhere in that gray area where I'm trying to do a little too
Yeah,
much. And just end up being like shitty at it. But yeah, you can find me at Likely Alien. You can find my poorly used Twitter handle at the Coltist. I always think like the show name has more traction than the show. But yeah, I really like the name of the show, Cultist. I'm awful happy to have Mateo here to sort of.
yeah. Happy to be here once again.
I appreciate you being here, man. It's fun to have somebody to have these conversations with. It's bad enough sitting in an echo chamber, but it doesn't feel so bad when you've got somebody to tell you when you're being dumb, or maybe we're taking our thoughts a little too far. Because there are people really quick to like. I've had some people reach out to me and say things about Frank Reich, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. All I'm saying is I think he probably talks about God a little too much for a locker
Yeah,
room with 150 $200 million spent on athletes. And I think when you church a place up, guys get hurt a lot because they're walking on faith, you know what I mean, instead of like in the training room like trying to stay intact. And I feel like they're reading the wrong books, is sort of the attitude. Like I want more football. I feel like you're going to find out right quick too, whether I'm overstating what I presume is happening.
yeah.
You're
Or if
about to
it's not
find it.
anything like that. Yeah,
It's going to be all over Hard Knocks. They're going to dissect
yeah.
it. We're going to get our little moment of the
You're gonna
sun.
get a look at everything. Yeah,
And we'll find out real quick if maybe I'm wrong, and maybe. So here's the other possibility, right? So on the one end, that's what I suspect. On the other end, I feel like we could be too corporate. And that could be part of your problem, is where
yeah,
everything is about like clicks and dollars and fulfilling expectations, and making sure that he's healthy and upright for his photo shoot. You know what I mean? Like that's the sort of reason to limit
yeah,
guys like Jonathan Taylor. And I'm totally being sort of a jerk about that. Like what I want to know, you know what I mean? I don't feel like, again,
yeah.
I keep beating the same drum, but like in a one score game, I can't fathom not giving the ball to my best player.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah, that's
me.
just flat out
Um,
stupid. Yeah,
but yeah, I guess that's sort of the cliffhanger we can sort of leave, is like, the sort of football we're
is
gonna
that the
play?
reason? Yeah,
You're 3-5 right now, so I think bucking that trend is sort of ideal, right? Like, hey,
yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah, yeah.
don't do
Want to
what we've
snap
been
out of it?
doing
Yeah,
when we were 3-5. Maybe actually give the rock to the kid, especially in like a one score contest when he's otherwise being productive. Because I feel like what's happening instead is you're throwing Naheem Hines out there, and then you're trying to give him the ball too, but defense are totally expecting that.
yeah. They know
And
that one.
and
Yeah,
you see the sort of the spiral it puts the Colts in. And I feel like that's fixable. And when it's fixable, usually there's hope too. And we've had that in seasons past. It's just we're week late, and now it's uphill, and now it's high pressure. So now every game
Yeah.
carries an additional onus in that it is a must win, and I feel like that's unfair. I mean,
Yeah.
it's unfair because ultimately I feel like it's a down year. It's an eval year. A lot of guys are saying it's like a rebuild. Well, if that's the case, we've been in a rebuild. We've been in crisis mode, whether we're willing to admit that or not. And I'm definitely talking about
Yeah.
the Colts and not at all the United States. I mean, I might as well be. But yeah, so that's where we'll leave you. This has been the Niner, as we're calling it.
Yeah, the Niner, yeah. Episode number 9 of the Coltist.
Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy Thursday night football. We'll see you after next week's games.
Yeah, hopefully with a win.
Absolutely. Go Colts.